It's finally time. The spoilers are out there, guys. If you haven't seen the movie yet, if you haven't seen the spoilers yet, hey, that's okay. That's all right. You still have time. Step away. Don't watch this video because I will be including all spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the new year, guys. Next month is the month that we have to reach our goal for 200 subscribers. Come on, we're going strong. We're going strong. Come on, I believe in you to share my video. This is not what this is about. This is about Spider-Man. Let's get back to Spider-Man. Welcome, my name is Kingston. Behind the camera is the camera guy. And today, we're talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, this is the biggest movie of 2021, which it was only in 2021 for like 15 days, so that's how you know it's crazy. Because this movie is just so crazy. And I just want to, again, say spoilers for this movie. So let's start off with the good. This movie is really good, like really good. Like, we've all had time to sit back and think about this movie, especially like as who I am. I love Spider-Man. I've been watching so many YouTube videos on it, been having so many conversations with people on it, so now we get to really hear my opinion on it. And here are the things that I think is really good about this movie. I think I even talked about it shortly in my ranking of the movie. It's just such a beautiful celebration of all the Spider-Man movies ever that have ever been out here. I mean, not only does it bring back all of these villains, it brings back all three Spider-Man. And I feel so weird saying that on camera because I feel like I'm spoiling things, but this is a spoiler review. So, like, it brings back all the Spider-Man and they get to all interact together. And it's really such a good moment for all of us as fans to Spider-Man. It really just, it does something different. It really does do something different. I think this, let's just start from the beginning of the movie. I think this really is one of my, it's probably my favorite, one of my favorite openings for Spider-Man movies out there. Definitely really good. Just straight off the bat, picking up where we left off in the last one. And we're going, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's intense, but it's really fun to watch, and it's kind of funny at the same time because, you know, it's John Watts just loves to put that humor into these movies. It's just really fun to watch. And I think from the beginning it starts showing us the new like cinematography skills they wanted to show off in this movie, and I really like that. It sets the mood for this movie with the more darker, emotional tune for it, mood for it, not tune. But I think we really get that from the beginning. Especially, we had this one shot when he comes into, first comes into the apartment up until they see him on the news. Just so much good. I really like how they address the responsibility in this movie. This movie is a big, obviously, Peter Parker's origin story. Like, this Peter Parker's origin story. Like, you would think Spider-Man Homecoming was this Peter Parker's origin story, but all three of these movies combined really make this Peter Parker's origin story. And that's what I think I get with that responsibility. The way they handle it with Aunt May was just so, I think it was beautiful. And then, you know, it's really sad and really emotional. But I'll get to more emotion and stuff later on this movie. I really liked how this Spider-Man cause his own problems, and this is something that's been happening from Homecoming to Far From Home and to this movie, and they bring it back, and it was really unexpected to me. I was like, oh wow, they literally decided to go the same way. And I guess I can address this in my bad, but it's like, okay, is he gonna grow or is he gonna keep doing this? But at the same time, I feel like it makes sense for the character. He keeps on doing this to himself, causing these problems for himself. And it was cool to see him do that again in this movie. I really like the relationships in this movie. Him and MJ was really beautiful. I think him and Ned, even, I know Ned was kind of pushed to the side more for this one because MJ knows now, but I think he was really fun as a best friend. I really like the relationship with Happy and his relationship with May. I mean, all of the relationships I think were really good, and especially with all of these people doing really good at playing the parts. The first time I watched it, I didn't really think about it. I was just like, Tom Holland did so good, and I didn't think about the fact that all of these actors and actresses did really good in this movie. Like, it's definitely best performance out of the three for all of the actors. I really like some of that crazy action they throw in here every now and then. I'm just like, whoa, that's different. You know, that last ending fight between him and Goblin. Oh my goodness. Okay, all right. I think that's enough for my good. And I'm gonna move on to bad. The first bad thing I want to address is that they actually didn't bring in all the Spideys. They left out our very, very good friend. But they're the real veterans. They're the real ones that they were they were Spider-Man for real. Anyways, let me stop joking around. Let's talk about the bad. This movie, even though I really like this movie and there's a lot of good things to talk about, I'm not done talking about good things, guys. I'm gonna come back. It's a lot of good things, but there's also bad things, and I think everybody knows that every movie has its bad. And I feel like, for example, with this one, a lot of people kind of ignore the bad, and I'm just gonna say it like this: some things that could have been so good were ruined because they just settled with fan service. And if you don't know what that means, what I mean by that is the idea of all these people love these characters that they're bringing back. They love the Peter Parkers. They love the villains. They even love just the Marvel Cinematic Universe and breaking the multiverse and that kind of thing. I mean, of course, we see it in Loki, and people love that movie. I mean, that series. It just feels like, to me, they ruined a lot of what could have been so much better with fan service. And now what I mean by that is, once they introduced these villains, I feel like they were sat on a back burner as just like, I'm gonna make a couple of jokes just to reference our past movies, and then at the end we'll come back and we'll be a big Sinister 5 because they didn't do Sinister 6, and that's something I'll come back to. But CGI at times was a little off as well. For example, Lizard, his mouth his mouth didn't quite match up with how it did look. He was smaller, I think, and he was a different color green, I think. I feel like they had more light on his chest, and it doesn't really matter. I just feel like the way they designed certain characters like Lizard, Sandman, it didn't seem like they came out of those universes. It seemed like they were from another universe, but they're still those characters, if that makes sense. Sandman was fun. He's another one I could talk about. He was cool. I loved how they did pretty good with the animation of the sand. I feel like him and Lizard just weren't executed well. You know? I feel like their characters were not big parts of the plot. Nobody really cared about what they were going to do. They kind of just threw in a motive for Sandman. They were like, he just wants to get back home with his girl. And it's kind of like, that's very selfish. I feel like he really cared about the greater good by the end of Spider-Man 3. And the way he was helping Peter Parker when he first joined back, I felt like that was perfect for his character. And I think it worked for his character. But then he just got angry and was like, I'm going home. And I thought that was really like forced, the way he was still fighting with all of them. I felt like he could have easily been like, well, if we fight all these people, we'll send them back home right now. Like, you know, if that makes sense. And then Lizard, I'm really talking like this is my next section that I'm going to talk about. But Lizard, for example, I don't even know what you could do with Lizard. It was their choice to bring him back in. I like Lizard. I don't really know how they could have given him more of a motive, because he literally said, do I die? And it could have been as easy as them just saying, no, you don't die, and him not having a motive anymore. Like, because he doesn't. He's fine at the end of the day. I even had a little bit of a conflict with Electro. Not big, nothing big. I just felt like his action, I feel like it could have been upped. It could have been upped. Like, the way he said, the way Jamie Foxx said it in No Way Home, he said like he was kicking Spider-Man's butt. And it was so funny to me because I was like, he did. And I just think back to that scene, that final battle with him where he was he was absolutely destroying Andrew Garfield, and then he gets hit by Gwen Stacy. But he was absolutely destroying him. And I think that was something that we missed out on just a tad. You know, all he did was like, you know, which was cool, and the way he did it was cool, and the way he like would teleport was kind of sick. And I like the new look and the yellow electricity. I actually wish we got to see more of that. You know, like maybe the electricity actually like spurring off of him. We would have been pretty sick. But you know, we got what we got. Now, since I'm talking about it, let's talk about CGI. CGI was another bad thing. Most of the time, the CGI was okay. It was like okay, like Doc Ock versus Spider-Man. That CGI was good. That was flawless. It was normal MCU, you know, daytime, on a bridge, cars flipping, Spider-Man flipping, Doc Ock crushing bridges. You know, that was normal. It looked good. CGI was fine. The CGI gets weird. I know I already talked about CGI with Lizard. It gets weird though at other parts. Like for example, when they cure the other villains, and it's like, okay, they literally just bootlegged in a clip of the villains from the other movies because they couldn't get them on set, and that was really cheap, and I really did not like it. I thought that was okay. You know, it didn't ruin the movie. It just took me out for a moment. Another thing that I really thought was a little weird with this was the conflict. Now, I don't want to talk about bad things too long, and I feel like I have already talked about it too long. But the conflict was just a tad unrealistic. If that makes any sense. Like, it was just, I think we've got a lot of people on the internet talking about it with Peter Parker going to Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange being like, yeah, I'll go help you out. And I know Doctor Strange was like, no, I won't help you out. And then he was like, yeah, I'll help you out. Because he was like, I feel bad. But it wasn't very realistic, was it? I feel like Peter Parker had already learned, right? I think that's what I talked about at the beginning, is that he has already been going through this development over these however many movies, 6 movies I think he's been in now. He's gone through this development. And I feel like him going to Doctor Strange and being like,
erase their memory.
I feel like there's other ways. They've made it. The spells and everything, I think, have come to a point where this movie failed. I think for me, I think it's gonna becomes it's way too OP. Literally, he said everyone forgets who Peter Parker is, and that just rewrote everything. And now they can just be like, hey, why didn't you just tell Thanos to forget? You know, you see what I'm saying? That's okay. It's just a small little thing that I wasn't real happy with. Realism was a little off in the beginning of the movie. It really kicked back in, you know, with the whole other situation. The camera guy says he should have went to Jesus. He saw that little witch on the thing, I would have been like, I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. I'm not done talking about bad things, but I'm going to go into another section. But before I go into another section, I want to say if you made it this far into the video, you should go ahead and hit that like button. Because I know if you're not liking what you're hearing, you're at least liking what you're seeing. Y'all like that? Y'all like my little, you know, if you did, there's a button for that. And I love my self-promos. Self-promos are awesome. 2 more sections. Here's the one I'm talking about. The woulda, coulda, shouldas. Now I'm trying to make these quick because these really aren't problems with the movie. These are just things that I personally feel like they would have made the movie just 10 times, I don't know, probably just 3 times better, but it would have made it a little bit better, in my opinion. I feel like my biggest problem with the movie was that the villains, I don't feel like were given justice. They were thrown to the back burner. The Green Goblin, bro, Green Goblin was given justice. Like, he was given justice completely. Electro, mostly, and then Doc Ock, kinda. In between. As a villain, no. As a character, he was given okay justice. Now, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, I'm going to just start off with this. I feel like the antagonistic role was definitely... They could have upped their game with the villains. I feel like when it comes to a big band of villains, it gets overwhelming. It's like too much is happening. And this is what happened with, like, Spider-Man 3. People don't like how they did the villains. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they were like, hey, man, you're verging. You're on the verge. But with this one, to me, I feel like they know better, you know? And for a big band of villains, usually you need, like, a leader. And obviously they put Green Goblin, like, in that area, kind of like he is the big bad. But at the same time, he wasn't, because, like, the villains didn't all agree with him. And it just, I feel like the antagonistic role should have been, you know, nailed in just a little bit more. Like, this is one antagonist motive, and this is the group of people that he's bringing together to execute it. And I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like I'm talking too much, and that it's just I can talk about this movie for hours. Another thing is I felt like Doc Ock, whenever Electro was like, I liked you better before, I thought he was gonna, like, you know, his little chip in the back that they just fixed and make him bad again, because I really wanted to see more bad Doc Ock, because all we saw was that scene on the bridge with him. And honestly, if you watch the trailers, they basically showed that whole scene already. So that was really disappointing to see that Doc Ock only got that one action scene and then he was all good, which is fine. I like him as a good person. I just don't like how he was thrown to the back burner as, one of the best villains in general. Spider-Man entrance, I think, could have been upped just a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I just feel like it shouldn't have been just through portals. It was great. I don't care. It was them. I just feel like after I watched it, I was like, bro, wouldn't it have been sick if we we just go over to a scene of like this mysterious guy walking down the street, and then like he shoots web out of his hand and grabs something, and then you see his face and it's like, oh my gosh, it's one of the other Spider-Man. Okay, let me calm down. It would have been sick. It would have been awesome. Anyways, another thing with the Spider-Man is I think they should have did a reference to like the Spider-Man. That would have been so funny if they referenced just the tiniest bit of that scene. Just like, it would have just been funny. Anyways, last but not least is Venom. When the woulda, coulda, shouldas. And this one is like a should've. We would have really got the Sinister Six. And maybe we're going to get them in the future Tom Holland films. But we would have got a beautiful look at the Sinister Six. And I think the Venom character could have done really well. I think I would have really liked seeing Eddie Brock bounce off of Tom Holland. That would have been so funny. And their characters bouncing off of each other. And then seeing what Venom would do in that situation of the hive knowledge that Peter Parker has killed him before. So like, and then that Peter Parker was there. I mean, would he have become another antagonist? I know they were going to do this, and I don't know why they didn't, and they should have. But it's okay. Let's end it off. Let's stop talking about this bad stuff. Let's end it with the great stuff, because great is the word we gotta use, because great. Y'all know what I'm doing. Last but not least, let's talk about the great things in this movie. And I mean, what better thing to start off with than we were given Tobey Maguire Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield Peter Parker, in a world with Tom Holland Peter Parker. And it's so beautiful to see this. And I gotta say that Andrew Garfield stole the show for sure. He's my favorite, and he was my favorite before the movie. All of y'all people that's like, he's my favorite, I love him so much. Y'all didn't like him not nan bit before this movie. But I will say, I appreciate his appreciation. I really like the way that it's blowing up on the internet, that he's great and he deserves another chance as Spider-Man, and he does. He was so good in this movie. It was so clear that he had just came out his universe dealing with his grief and all of that. And I think that was one of the best things about bringing Andrew back, is his unfinished character arc was still evident in this movie, and that's why he's so good. Okay, now Tobey Maguire wasn't bad, and I love the fact they bringing Tobey Maguire back was just such a treat. It was just icing on top of the cake that they made, and it was so nice. It just seemed humbling in a way. He seemed like kind of humbling. Seemed like the youth pastor, the cool youth pastor. No, let me stop. He was very fun to have there. I will say that I felt like he wasn't as cheesy as he usually is in his movies, and I thought that we were missing just a little bit of that cheesiness, just a tad. But overall, Toby was great. He was so much fun to see, and then like him being that wise guy, he jumps in front of the. Ooh, okay, let's move on. It was so good, and Tom needed that. Tom Holland Spider-Man needed this. It really just took his character arc and just said, "Swoop," and he's just got a whole character circle. Anyways, Willem Dafoe was my favorite thing about this movie. Green Goblin was so good in this movie, and I thought he was just so fun to watch, and I left him for the great because he was the great villain of the five. Should have been six, but he was so good at what he did. He was so much fun. Peak villain for me, I think one of my favorite villains in the MCU now will be Green Goblin. The moment when Tom is on his head, bro, and he's just like, And he just starts smiling. I'm like, no way, bro. Okay, anyways, Tom Holland is the same way in this movie. He just went crazy. And fast forward from when he was beating down on his head and he was smiling to the part where he was beating down on his head and he couldn't smile anymore because Tom was like he was on rage mode. He was on instant kill mode, dude. And dude's eyes turned red. You could see like the rage, the way they shot that scene with the music, the cinematography, the enhancement on each punch, and then the other two Spider-Men look at him like, oh my gosh, we gotta stop it. Like y'all gotta remember, even though I said all that bad stuff, I really like this movie. I really like this movie, and just to end it off, just to top it off, I really liked what they did with the music. Dude, I there's like this new thing they did with the music. Maybe I'll show it, maybe I won't. It depends on the time frame, but it might be playing in the background right now. Anyways, listen, this movie, it hits in the feelings, and it's one of the most emotional Spider-Man movies to ever exist. And I will say that I love that, and I love what they did here. It really brought a new tone to the Tom Holland Spider-Man that's different from the first two. That really makes it actually, worthy of being one of the greatest Spider-Man movies, which none of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are worthy of. Those are my final thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home. Like you got my first thoughts in the ranking. This is why this video is long, is because these are my final thoughts. And if you stayed through the video, I really appreciate that. And I really think you're worthy of staying here and becoming part of this kingdom that I'm building. So hit the subscribe button and let's grow this channel, guys. Let's do it together. I love you. I'm Kingston. He's the camera guy. He's back there. And anyways, I'm out. Stay golden.